Welcome. As I told you last week, it's super exciting for the QueerCentric to be back for a new season. We took some time off. I certainly didn't take time off, but I took time off from doing these shows, and we are so happy to be back at it. So thank you for everyone who keeps tuning in. Today's going to be fun. So every once in a while, I will call my friend Nathan, our amazing film critic, and be like, torture me, Nathan. Give me some great queer films that I have not seen. And before we go, please run over to our website, thequeercentric.com. Nathan has a brand new one up now, which is about a movie that everybody's seen, except me. I need to get out there. Is Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. So if you want to go get Nathan's thoughts on films, you can go over and look at that one or a ton of others that we have on the site. But that's there right now. So Nathan, welcome. I called you and I said, I want some good queer cinema, to start fall right. And you gave me 4. I watched 3 of them. And I think I was just so sad by the third.
Excellent I gave you film. One comedy. I gave you a comedy.
I did. And I started. What I should learn is to end with the comedy. Because I started with the comedy. So, first of all, let's just talk. Is fall a good season, do you think, for some good films that are coming out that you anticipate every year?
I mean, absolutely. We have finished the big festivals. We finished Toronto and Venice and Telluride and some other ones. And so now the Oscar race is getting started. So,
yep.
Starting October 1st through the rest of the year and then the first couple of months of 2025, just pretty much every weekend at the cinema, you will be able to find something that I think that'll end up being nominated for something somewhere.
Is there something that's been on your radar that you think you're going to see at the Oscars next year?
Ooh, good question. Well, speaking of queer cinema, Daniel Craig has a movie coming out called Queer.
Really?
And it is getting a lot of Oscar buzz. Cillian Murphy has another movie coming out this fall, which is looking really good just based on trailers alone. I'm fascinated by this Joker movie, the sequel. Its initial reactions coming out of, I believe it was Venice, were a little mixed. Those are a few that are on my radar.
Yeah.
This Daniel Craig movie is getting a lot of buzz.
I had not heard that he was doing that film, so I'm I'm intrigued. And as for, I don't know what to feel about Joker. I want to like it, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, but it's so hard to do a sequel, especially a sequel to something that was so critically acclaimed as the first one. Even as uncomfortable as it was so well done.
Well, and Hollywood is doing this thing now where they are bearing the lead on when a movie is a musical. And
yes.
This sequel to Joker is a musical.
Which is crazy.
There is a lot of singing in it, but you could not tell that from the trailer. No. And I would say the same thing about Wicked. Yeah. Wicked is... Every 5 minutes is a song for anyone who has seen the play.
Exactly.
But if you watch that trailer from Disney, you would have no idea.
And at first I wonder why. Second, it makes it hard to know, I judge most movies. If I am not aware of them a lot, I judge it on, am I going to go see it? The previews look good. But you don't get to know. You know what I mean? It's good luck.
I really noticed it with this Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie that came out with Timothée Chalamet. At no point in that trailer did you think that thing was going to be a musical, and no. It is a musical.
Wow. I want to know the psychology of, because obviously people behind the scenes have decided this is the way to push. So I'm very curious about how that is.
Someone somewhere has decided that audiences are just straight up writing off films that they think are a musical.
Right.
So if they can get them there on the star power alone, well, who cares if you tricked them into going to be a musical?
Well, like I've said a million times, when it comes, there needs to be not just editing, but specifically an Oscar for editing of trailers.
Yeah.
Because some of the best work I've ever seen are in those. And so someday that will happen. But it should be interesting. I want to say really quick, so also TV is out there. I got to say, I want to know what your thoughts are. It is spooky season. Did you catch Agatha all the way? They released the two first, episodes were released. What a cast. Just huge names in that cast. And I have to say, I watched it and wow. Like, Patti LuPone and I have a very love-hate relationship. And Patti LuPone is brilliant. Everybody they put in that. So I'm curious if it can stay that strong all the way through to the end. There are rumors that there will not be an Agatha all the way 2, but that could very much be about what happens in this when they take the witch's road. So anyways, curious. Is that something that even your brain even goes, "Oh, I'll watch that," or you're like, "Fuck that"?
I've had to make a choice in my life. Do I keep up with everything
Oh,
that is in a movie theater, or do
yeah.
I keep up with everything that is on the television?
Right.
And when it comes to movies, at the end of the year, we're talking the Oscars. I'm, having to keep a hold of 60 or 70 films versus the last count. I think there were 500 Super
Right.
Dick Joes that came out this year, and I just can't. So I always feel like
Yeah.
I am 4 or 5 years behind on television. Like I'm on season 5 or 6 of Orange is the New Black. Like that's
Oh,
how
wow.
far behind I am. I can't keep up. I can't.
It is hard, and there are so many movies. I always end up talking to people about when we get ready for the Oscars and how you will watch all of the films and how then you'll give me a list. And I think it's hard to watch just the list you give me. It is nothing compared to what you put yourself through. And so, I mean, when you like movies, you like the art form. I mean, that's what it's about. And that's why fall for me. I don't know if it's because the cooler weather makes me want to like go watch movies, or if it really does do a big push. I think the big push comes in November, but maybe it is a big push and I'm just unaware of it when school time comes around. But
Yeah.
this is it.
Yeah, I think we're also conditioned, particularly with TV. I mean, when we were growing up and we only had 4 channels, like everything premiered in September, and that was like
Yeah.
the time to start watching news shows and get disappointed that Fox canceled everything after 2 weeks. Like it's just
Exactly.
tradition.
Yeah. I mean, to walk down, you just want to be in LA during cancellations, and it's sad. It's a very sad time. We
Poor
could film
kids.
that and get all the depression we need. But so I love watching, and I don't care when, but good queer cinema is always on my radar. And so that's why I'm like, Nathan's going to be able to steer me right because I'm not going to, I'm sorry for all the people that love them, and I love that. These, Harlequin romances brought to the screen with gay men, I don't want to see it. It's just, it gives me nothing. So I do love a good nuanced story, and I want to talk. So you gave me a list, and I worked it in my weird schedule that I have. But I want to start, and I want to talk about something that is quirky, funny, odd. I don't think it connects to everyone, but I want to talk about Theater Camp, which of course came out. I think it was last year, wasn't it, or the year before, somewhere in there. Yeah, with Ben Platt and his now husband as of September 1st, Noah Gavin. So tell me what made you discover it, and what did you think when you saw it?
Yeah, so I saw Theater Camp at the 2023 Seattle International Film Festival. Film festivals are always, and SIF does this a lot, and those of us who attend the festival every year, there are a whole bunch of like Eastern European dramas with people sadly staring off into space for a very long time, sort of perplexed about the decisions that they've made in their lives. So I always try to find a few comedies because a man can only take so much.
Yeah.
And I watched theater camp with a completely sold out crowd. And that was probably the first time I'd been in a completely sold out crowd since COVID.
Yeah.
And I just adored it. And
Yeah.
I, it's probably because I'm a former theater kid. I've hung out with a lot of theater kids.
Right.
I went to college. My intention was to do theater. So, like, all of the lingo, all of, the stereotypes, all of it was hitting on every level for me. And it also sort of reminded me of like Wet Hot American Summer, like sort of
Oh
the
yeah.
camp of it. And
Yeah.
I just found it really hilarious. And it's also obviously because it's theater kids. We've got a
Yeah.
lot of like queer undertones and a queer stories going on underneath. But
Yeah.
more than anything, just a really great comedy, and probably the last great comedy I have seen. And at that point in time, the first great comedy I had seen in a long while. So it just,
Wow.
from beginning to end, I just laughed throughout, and it was such a joy to watch the thing with a huge crowd of people and all to sort of be in community and laughing together. I
Right.
really missed that.
I have to say, I really enjoyed Noah Galvin's character in it a lot, even more than Ben Platt's character. Um, and I enjoyed the gentleman who played Amy Sedaris' son, who's trying to run. They were my favorite, and I thought they were so well done. Developing those.
Yeah, they were phenomenal. Yeah, the kids just, I mean, almost every scene that they're in, they just steal the show from the
Yeah.
adults. I, if you've been around this community in any shape, form, or
Yeah.
fashion, even if it was just like you painted backdrops for your high
Right?
school
Yeah.
musical, like, this stuff is going to hit from you because they're all little prima donnas. They all
Yes.
think they're going to be big. They all think they're
Yep.
going to go to New York and they're going to, make it on Broadway.
Yes.
The sad reality of it is, like, none of them probably are, but
Right.
it's such a joy to watch them sort of chase that dream.
Well, and it also gave me some like reminiscence, reminders of Christopher Guest movies. There was a smack. I know that there was a lot of improvising in this movie, which probably helped that, but it did have that. And I always appreciate Christopher Guest. You know what I mean? And I could feel that. And I know they like everybody in that. It was originally a short film. I mean, everybody in it is a tight knit group, and I think it was fun to feel that chemistry coming through. That they had been working on this. This is their story, really, and I thought that was fun. And that says a lot for me because I am not a huge Ben Platt fan at all. But I thought, yeah, it just felt nice.
Yeah, and I think this movie's criminally underwatched. Like, I mean, it came out without a lot of fanfare, and I think it quickly went to Hulu and
Yes,
sort
yeah,
of lived there on the recommendation section for a while. So now it really, if you want to see it, you need to go do some digging. But I mean,
yeah,
it's got a 7 out of 10 on IMDb. It's,
right.
I think, pretty well received as far as a comedy. So if you just need to, like, shake it up and laugh a little bit, I can't recommend this film enough.
Right. And I think don't you think that lends to the recipe for making a cult classic, don't you think? Because it doesn't get the appreciation that it needs, mostly because I don't think it gets in front of the eyes of everybody. And so I think it's going to end up being one of those, where you tell your friends and then give it 10 years and then everybody and their mom, who are us cool culture people, we've seen it because it's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, that, and I just think that probably every high school speech and theater class in America is going to watch this at probably the beginning or the end of the year in some form or
For
fashion when
sure.
they roll in the TV on a teacher's planning day. And I think the kids are going to absolutely connect with
Oh,
every bit of
so every
every bit of the
drama
film.
department everywhere.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is They have teacher planning day where they have nothing planned. They're watching that
Yeah,
movie.
for sure.
Also, I always find it fascinating because a lot of those actors in there have been friends since theater school. And so it's interesting. Plus, I love me some Noah Galvin so much since his days on the sitcom The O'Rourke's. Oh, something. But it's the Dan Savage sitcom. I always loved him then. It was the first time we saw him. He was so funny. So, so it's exciting. And it's intriguing that, the gossip of him and Benny Boy getting married, and I love that for them. Just happened on September 1st, so I find congratulations, gentlemen. You can come on the show. We'll talk to you. It'll be fine. But no, that was a lot of fun, and that was the lighthearted, definitely the lighthearted movies of the three that I've seen. I'm gonna save my favorite one of the three for last. Um, I'm going to save that for last. Next, I do want to have a conversation about Supernova. Supernova, of course, has Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci. It is almost an understated film. Tell people who are watching what Supernova is.
So, as you said, yeah, it stars Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci. They are a couple who are traveling across England in this sort of old RV, and they're doing it to sort of meet friends and family in places of really importance from their past. And at first, we don't really understand why they're taking this trip, but we shortly discover that one of them has been diagnosed with dementia and is slowly losing their memory. So this is sort of like one last journey together of all of the people, places, and things that mattered before the memory is fully gone. So it is a heartbreaking film.
Oh,
It left me in a puddle, which will
yeah.
always almost get a 5 stars from me. But I just found
Yeah.
it so riveting. As you said, sort of in a British sort of way, very
Yes.
quiet, very
Yeah.
understated. It is not going to hit you with big moments of drama. There are there are a few that'll shake you, but I mean, it's not going to slap you over the head or anything. But
Yeah.
I just loved it.
I also love that because of the subtle way, I really appreciate British cinema, anyways, but because of the subtle way they do it, it feels more like, which kind of makes it more devastating. It seems more real. It's not the heightened Hollywood story about something. I also love that it's about this early onset dementia that more people of my generation and just above are dealing with now. So it was nice to see a movie that didn't have to do with just the young. And I love the young people, but you know what I mean? It was nice to see a movie about something we're dealing with, right now. And I have to say, Stanley Tucci and Colin Firth, they are friends, but I think which was a beautiful thing because that connection, that familiarity, you could feel it. You felt like they were married for the past 20 something years. And I thought that was fascinating. And on top of it all, the fact that they're two heterosexual actors who deliver. I mean, talk about delivering the honesty of the piece. And I have to say, that was a big thing. They were in this they were in this movie, these two Oscar winning actors, and and of course we debate, and we probably will debate to the end of time, straight people taking gay roles. But I gotta tell you, I feel like if you even get a group riled up, because I can land on either side depending, that movie, it's the last thing you're thinking about.
For sure. And I want to focus on the subtleties of the
Yeah.
film. No moment in this film feels inauthentic or as if it is being played up for the camera. You can imagine a couple taking this trip. You can imagine a couple thinking that one more trip is super important for both of their memories, for both of their sakes.
Yeah.
You can imagine them taking this trip knowing that things are about to get much more difficult.
Yeah.
And the dialogue feels authentic, the fights feel authentic, the love feels authentic. Their
Yeah.
interactions with family and friends, all of that feels authentic. And it is nothing is overhyped or played for the camera or anything like that.
Right.
It is subtle, it is quiet, it is a beautiful thing to behold, but it is 100% believable.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that those two actors did it. You know what I mean? I have never seen such. That's the other thing I tell people when we have to have this debate about. I wrote on my notes gay for pay, um, which is a little different, but here's the difference: is I've always thought intention and respect is number one. You know, you want, as the person who wrote it, as the director, you want what's best to serve the story. And I think they dealt with it in such a respectful, I mean, I don't know how you could be mad at them. It was so, I mean, half the time I thought both of them were gay anyways, before I realized that they weren't. But it doesn't matter because they're delivering the story. I do need to say one thing, though. I won't give away spoilers, but the way this movie ends, I screamed at the screen because I didn't realize it was done. And then it just goes to black, and I was like, fuck you! Fuck you! It is the biggest. It's. Watch the movie. The end. I know artistically why we did it, but I'm like, are you serious right now? I live in Hollywood and I want my answers yesterday. But you don't get them.
Yeah, I am firmly on the other side of the debate, which is I just want to remind everyone that we are playing characters. We are not
True.
being characters, we are playing characters.
Yeah.
So I don't really care if the straightest guy in the world plays the biggest queen in the world. It
Right.
does not matter to me as long as you do a good job.
Yeah.
Also, Jonathan, that's so American of you to like need things to end. Like, it just
But you have to admit that it
that's
is a
not how life
very
works, man. Sometimes the story continues and it's okay.
did it not shake you a little bit?
I think the more movies I watch, the more I get really comfortable with the
Yeah.
ambiguity that can
Yeah.
sort of circle some films. I think I know that the story is continuing in some form or fashion, and
Yeah.
I'm allowed to sort of create that world for myself, and I don't need necessarily the filmmakers to do it for me.
I will say most of the time I like to be a cerebral artist, and I'm like, that's what art is for, is you leave it open for interpretation. This film, it was so painful at times because you could feel the heartbreak of the whole situation. So that's why at the end I was just like, oh, I need closure for my heart, but you don't get closure for your heart. But it's
Uh,
so worth. Like I said, I find the movie is successful in its subtleties, and so I mean, watch it. It's absolutely well written, well directed, beautiful performance by those two gentlemen. Um, and then you can send me a note if you see the end and you have an opinion, because you will.
you know, a buddy, a good film friend of mine over here in Seattle, we have this debate all the time. He thinks that we should judge a film just by what we see on the screen. And, we should judge the acting, we should judge the story,
Right.
we should, all elements that end up making a story. We should do that. And I just disagree so hard because here it is. Yes, when I watch a film, I am judging all of those things. But you know what makes art matter is your story that you bring to the
True.
experience. While
Yeah.
that those things are not happening on screen, your ability to connect to it based on
Yeah.
your experiences makes art matter. Does is everything that is everything that they are saying or you're feeling necessarily happening on the screen? Absolutely not. But art doesn't matter if you're not bringing your own experiences and
Yeah.
finding a connection. All the films that I really, really love, I have a personal connection to in some shape, form, or
Yeah.
fashion. And I could not watch cinema any other way.
Yeah. And I can't imagine a lot of people being able to. I think it's all about what it connects you to, for sure. About that, which it brings me to this final film I watched. I and this, not to bring anything up, but I just remember at the end of this film thinking, Nathan, how did you watch this? Because I adore you, I love you, you're a really good friend of mine. But I have to say, can we talk about Close? Tell viewers about Close, because it is the most impactful and my favorite film of all these three, and it just, yeah. So tell us a little about Close.
Yeah, so Close came out in 2002. I believe it was either France's or Belgium's entry into the Oscars. It was nominated for Best International Feature, and it's an A24 film, but it is about this sort of intense friendship between two 13-year-old boys named Leo and Remy. And this friendship gets disrupted in a way that I won't give away here, but they one boy's left sort of struggling to understand what has happened, and it leads to some consequences for one of the young gentlemen, and the other one is left sort of trying to dig through the aftermath of what has happened. It is an absolutely gut wrenching film. It is really obvious that one of the boys is attracted to the other one and would want something more than a friendship.
Yeah.
Um, his friend pushes back and, gets wrapped up in the popularity of school and all of those things, and being a 13-year-old boy and not having stuff figured out
Yeah.
yet. And sort of the aftermath of that rejection is gut wrenching and really
Yeah.
tough. It's also really tough watching this boy try to sort of swim
Huh.
this through this world and figure
Yeah.
out why this has happened. So yeah, it is not an easy film to
No.
watch. I think it is so beautifully well done.
Absolutely amazing.
Sort of like we were saying about Supernova, it is subtle, it is
Yeah.
understated. Even the thing that happens is done
Yeah.
quietly and respectfully. And it is just such a great film, and I recommend it to everyone, but it just felt necessary and important.
Yes. Absolutely beautiful. Also, what is fascinating to me, let me see if I get his name right. I give so much credit to Eden, I think it's Dambring.
Yeah.
Forgive me, but because a movie that's so subtle and you're so young, and really this movie is hinging on letting us subtly be in your emotions throughout this entire. You need to carry this for us so that we can experience through you. This kid was discovered on a train by the director, and yet delivers this performance that I'm like, it's no doubt why it was nominated for an Oscar. But he should have been nominated for an Oscar as well. I know it's foreign, but oh my God, his, even now after seeing it, even the look on his face in the movie poster kills me.
Yeah.
Kills me.
Yeah.
It's a well constructed, important, and just crazy story. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And one of the things that sort of struck me while watching it was, it's obviously it's taking place in a sort of rural agricultural school, and and I don't, if I remember correctly, they don't ever really say exactly
No.
where the film is taking place, and they bounce back and forth between multiple languages throughout the film.
Yeah.
But I kept thinking about, what if this film had been set in America, because the kids around the two of them are not necessarily bullying or being mean.
Right. Right.
They are asking if they are together because they
Yeah.
are best friends. They are around each other all the time. I
Right.
just think the potential, if this had been set in, let's say, a rural agricultural school here in America, we would have had probably the layering effect of bullying and
Right.
being really mean to both of them maybe feeling isolated from other people. So that would have been
Right.
another like heartbreaking level to add on top
Right.
of it. But I just,
Well, I love that the boys' relationship, obviously very close, but I love it that they show it in little things, like when they're lying on the grass with all their friends and Remy lies his head on the stomach of, Leo. It's these little gestures that if you weren't watching, you wouldn't be aware, but it's because you can tell they're so close to each other. Like they're each other's, as we said back in the day, they're each other's person for whatever that means, or whatever the future holds. In this moment in time, they are each other's comfort. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's what's fascinating. I do think there's subtle bullying, but it's not the thing. It's, you know what? I look at it and I'm like, that seems like school. You know what I mean? No one's going crazy to bully you. There's comments made that are dropped now and then, but you're right. It wasn't and I also think that the film uh, hints at, one of them is maybe a little more sensitive and has the issues. So they hint at that, but it's not about, they're not trying to drive home this topic and we need to do that. They're saying, this is what happened. These are pieces of that picture. And sometimes we don't know. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And then you have this child who is not equipped to deal with huge emotion things. But life doesn't care if you're equipped or not. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So it is fascinating. And to have the mom character play a part of that and not play by the rules you want, that, is the way you should play it. I mean, very sensitive, but there's a moment, the get out moment. And I think that's it's almost like when you take a snapshot of life, which is what art is, and you're not worried about, the big things you're supposed to do in a movie. That's what this is. This is a snapshot of life. Fuck. And there you go. You know what I mean? Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
again, I mean, there is, I think that, I mean, one of the really interesting things about the film is we are living in the world of emotions for a child. And often, so many times in film, those are treated as secondary, and they are on full display here.
Yeah.
And we are sort of watching both of them process this thing, and then
Yeah.
one of them process this thing.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It is tough. It is a tough, tough film, but I just think
Yeah.
it's so necessary.
It is beautiful. I want to say so, and I love that the director of this is so connected to the story. Like I would read little things like the movie was originally called We Two Boys Together Clinging because it was based off a painting from 1964. I think I'm glad he changed the title,
Yeah.
but just knowing just that title, I can see the painting and I understand where it was coming from because he wants you to understand the connection here. And that's the thing, to take that away from our children and their parents did not. They weren't, they weren't worried about it. They celebrated their boys' friendship. And I think that's amazing. But I think you were talking about memories. I think it's the subtlety of the movies we've talked about today, especially these last two, that is all about, oh, you can find there's something in, there's something in there. For me, not in as devastating as some can connect to it. Mine was in I had that 13-year-old best friend, and we were inseparable, and we were, wait, are we doing things? Are we not doing things? And then school would start, and then he wouldn't speak to me. But if any emotion happened or he needed support, it was me he would run to. And at 13, I was like, I am so madly in love, but we're not going to say the words out loud. So I would connect, because we all connect through our filter. The lives we've led, the experiences we had are our filters. And that makes a movie 10 times more impactful. So I don't know how your friend watches movies. I'm so curious now of what that experience is like for him. Mine is always going to be this way. And I like it. I'm good with it. It's fine.
This argument I have with him is I've recently discovered that more than half of the population walks around with no inner monologue, that they aren't like constantly judging everything that they are seeing and trying to like
right.
figure it out in their heads. And that baffles me because all I ever do is overthink and have a monologue in my head.
Exactly.
So I think he may be one of these people that just doesn't have an inner monologue. He is not thinking deeply about things. Not saying that he's not a deep thinker, but he's not sitting around processing stuff. So I cannot relate. I cannot fathom. I just don't know that you just walk through life with nothing going on in your head. I'm dating someone who claims he does not have an inner monologue, and I have a million questions. For him, that's just not something he does. He's not overthinking things. He's not analyzing things. When you ask him, what are you thinking? He says nothing. He is not thinking about anything. And if you ask me what I'm thinking, constantly thinking about something.
You're like, it's like a novel in here. I don't know. Yeah. But I agree with you. I had heard rumor that there are those people, but I cannot imagine. My dad used to say to me all the time, and I think it really relates to people who think like us and think too much and dissect life. He said, sometimes you're too smart for your own good. And it's because he knew I was constantly. There was always, I needed to find the next layer. And that's the problem. So maybe it's not that we're too smart for our own good, but we think too much for our own good.
Believe me, I wish I knew how to turn the thing off, but I don't. I don't know how to do it.
Right, exactly. And honestly, I choose to believe it makes creative people and artistic people like even better at what they do. Even if you're Vincent Van Gogh and you want to cut off your ear, I don't think I'd trade it. I like overthinking a movie and digging into it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I wish, the constantly beating myself up would stop, but all the other overthinking stuff, yeah, that's fine.
Right, exactly. Maybe not turn the weapon on ourselves.
Right.
At least. Okay, so I did want to say really quick, I haven't seen it yet, but I did mention that your newest, what should we call them? Critique a little bit
sure.
of Beetlejuice is out, and it has had definitely mixed out there. I think in looking at it that I see it more weighed towards the good. But if you go and read Nathan's article, you have some good nostalgia in it. Like you felt good with what they did.
Yeah, and I mean, I have not loved all of our let's decide to do a sequel 30 years after the original films that we've gotten in the last decade or so.
Right.
There have been a couple of exceptions. I would say like Top Gun Maverick is an exception.
Right.
And I think this film is an exception. I will say, the first 30 minutes of this film, you are really trying to figure out, like, why are we here? What are we doing? Is there a purpose? Is there a reason for this film existing? Right. And when they get back to the original setting, the original Winter River, like, it just starts clicking for me. Catherine O'Hara is amazing in this film. Michael Keaton, I mean, just bounces right back into the role.
Right.
Winona Ryder's great, and all the new cast members are really great as well. It felt like the story was necessary, like it was a proper continuation of the original film. It's also, I think, a credit to Tim Burton. Tim Burton, like Wes Anderson, sort of creates a world that you know is his world. You know a Tim Burton movie when you're watching it. This is sort of that classic Tim Burton film. It is weird, it is odd, it is kooky. I thought it was a lot of fun and really hilarious. And the last 30 minutes, maybe my favorite 30 minutes of film this year. I
Wow.
know some people don't like it, and that's fine, but I had a great time. I enjoyed the film.
Is Jenna Ortega a good addition?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like her, but she can be problematic for me. So,
yeah. I
did
thought
she
she was
fit well?
great. I thought Justin Theroux was great. Everybody carried their own, and it really felt like a collaborative piece. And it's just okay if we're going to do more of these sequels from films that came out when I was 4, fine,
Right.
but do it like this and don't do like the sequel to Dumb and Dumber. Like, don't do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But do this, not that.
I love that, and I'm excited to see it because I am planning to go see it. But I have heard, I have heard really good things, and I'm gonna err on that side. You say it's worth it, so I think I want to go see it because there'll be a lot of nostalgia there for me as well. I have to bring up a like out of left field and see if you watched a movie. I accidentally watched a movie. Sometimes that happens. I accidentally watched a movie. I didn't. It started after another movie I had watched and I didn't turn it off. Did you ever see the movie Toast?
No.
Freddie Highmore, and I would suggest I would love your take on it. It's fascinating. Freddie Highmore is in it. He plays a real life person who becomes a chef one day, and Helena Bonham Carter is in it. And it's and it has some queer tinges to it. Fascinating British film
Okay.
that I would love. And I'm like, what am I watching? But I watched it all the way through, and then I figured out it was called Toast. This is what I like to tell people. This is the joy of movies. You can accidentally see something that you're like, that gave me thoughts in my head. It can be entertaining and fun and quirky, or I enjoy a movie that makes me think. And I want to remind everybody, you miss out on so much if you're not willing to watch a foreign film. Like, suck it up, give it a try now and then. I seen the Oscars last year nominate so many foreign films, and getting to watch them, best thing ever. And so if you can take a chance and be like, I'm going to watch something. I would have never seen Close, and although it was so difficult, so glad I watched that movie. So, yeah.
Yeah, if you're not willing to read subtitles and you're writing off, you know, 199 plus other countries because you're not willing to read subtitles,
Right.
you are not an interesting person to me and not someone who I will ever want to talk
Exactly.
to about films, because
Yeah.
there is an amazing, gigantic world of cinema out there that does not take place here. I mean,
Yes.
just in the US alone, we get in the theaters, you probably get 100, 200 releases a year, but
Right.
thousands of films are made every
Yes.
year. Like, you've got,
Yeah.
if you want to find really good stuff, you are going to have to suck it up and get over
Yeah.
yourself and watch a movie with
And you know
subtitles.
what? It will make you appreciate movies just period. And so you can appreciate even more the movies in your own country. But I love seeing all the different ways they do it across the world. Such good things. So I am thrilled. People, we will put down in the descriptions the movies we've talked about today. Highly suggest watching them all. I highly suggest talking to others about the movies that you've had, and also go read Nathan's reviews. It's also a good way to spur a conversation, and see if you agree, disagree, why. Like, and are you a person who has a dialogue in your head, or no? And if not, tell us how that works.
For sure.
Because I don't know. But I would probably sleep more if I could turn that part off. Yeah, I could probably get better sleep. But you do what you got to do. Final notes. What's a movie that's coming out like in the next few months that it is the one movie that you're going to watch thousands, but the one movie you cannot wait to see?
Oh my. I mean, the next sort of big film that I'm looking forward to is this sequel to Joker. And I'm interested in seeing how they follow up the first one. I really enjoyed the first film a whole lot.
Yeah.
It is violent, and it is, borrowing from some Marty Scorsese films. I think it paid a beautiful homage to, Taxi Driver and Raging Bull and all those early films. That one is on my radar, and then just sort of, I am trying to dig through like Vanity Fair and other places, a Hollywood Reporter, and trying to figure out like what are the films we're going to be talking about in February or March next year. But that's probably the next big one on my radar.
I am curious. I will say I do not know I don't know if I feel it's going to tip the right way. I don't know. But I'm cautiously hopeful that they figured it out.
I've tried to avoid reviews thus far. I have been told that it lingers it becomes a courtroom drama when it doesn't need to be a courtroom drama. So I'm interested to see how I react to that part, but we'll see.
Yeah. So it should be interesting. Plus, there's a lot of pressure on Gaga. With every movie she does, people are waiting for it to, which is so weird. Waiting, prove to us you have no talent, even though she's been acting solidly in a number of movies. It's like that pressure is constantly on a film. So the director has to be aware when they cast her. So I think she'll deliver, but we shall see if together their chemistry and the way they interact on screen with Joaquin and her. I'm curious to see that.
Yeah, the initial sort of buzz is that the scenes that she is in, she's really well done and she does a great job, but that she's criminally underused in the film. So
really,
yeah, that's the initial.
Great. When we see it, we'll have to talk. I have thoughts on that as well.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, Nathan, this has been amazing. I love talking films. I don't know why I don't have you on every week, because we have a good time. I love a good film fest of my own. But so everybody, please remember Nathan Box. Tell us your website one more time.
Yeah, natetheworld.com, and all the social media handles are at natetheworld.
I love this. It's going to be a lot of fun. Everybody get ready. It's going to get a little chilly. It's officially cuffing season, as they say, and it's time to watch some good movies. So until next time, everybody, we love you to death, and we will see you in the airwaves. Bye.
I don't really know what comes next. I'm just doing my best, even though I'm so stressed out. Everything just feels like a test that I fail, so depressed when I can't seem to get out. But